Hi, this is the Salsa.com podcast. My name is Anthony, and today I'm going to teach you a few ways to take your basic steps from beginner over to intermediate, and hopefully take your dancing to the next level. Okay, to get started, we'll work on our feet first. And if you've been dancing salsa for like 3-6 months or relatively recent, you'll realize that if you've gone to a lesson or seen some of our previous videos, the basic step they teach is something similar to this, where you go forward on your left, and you go back to this kind of middle ground, neutral position, and then you go back with your right, and then you go back to your middle position, right? So it looks like 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, right? Now, that step is great to get anybody started, but when you start taking your dancing to the next level, you realize that this step is very restrictive because it doesn't allow you to add more styling to your basic step, and it prevents you from doing some of the more complicated moves, okay? For that, you're required to be able to travel more naturally, okay? So, well, not only that, one of the things with this basic step for beginners is that when you first learn it, you may end up doing something where you add a bounce to this step. So not only are you also not bouncing, you may also force yourself to be taking bigger steps than you actually need, okay? So that's one very important thing, that whenever you do your basic step, okay, you know, whatever it is, you don't want to add any bouncing to this step, because any movement you add to yourself, especially in partner work, gets transferred over to your partner. So if you end up bouncing, and then your hands end up bouncing, then the follow's hands will bounce, which will make her body bounce. And then, of course, that will maybe throw her off balance, or she might think it's an actual lead, okay? So the first thing you need to do is, you know, work on the same basic step you've been dancing for, but then pick something, you know, maybe in your office or in your home, you know, some reference object in the foreground or background, and then try and do this basic step without having that bounce effect, okay? Make sure you pick something, and then as you step forward or you step back, you make sure that your body remains relatively on the same kind of horizon, the same line or same level, okay? So you don't see stuff move up and down in the background or in the foreground. You can just quickly say, okay, boom, you know, I'm remaining relatively level as I do this step, okay? That will start smoothing out a lot of the motions that you'll be adding in your styling, as well as starts teaching you that no matter what happens with your feet, your body is not shaking in consequence of that, okay? So practice that first. Now, looking at the footwork, you know, your basic step again, you know, when from a beginner's point of view, is basically something like this, right? What we want to do is go from here to something like this, which feels a little bit more natural, as if I'm actually just walking forward and back, okay? To do that, I'm going to count the basic step again on 1, and then count this new footwork or this new basic step on 1 again, so you can see what I'm actually doing with my feet, okay? So if I take my left foot, this is the basic beginner. We do 1, 2 in the same spot, 3 in the same spot, back with 5, 6 in the same spot, 7 in the same spot, okay? Now, for this more natural step, I'm going to start off the same way. I'm going to step with 1, coming forward. Now 2, instead of being in the same spot, I'm actually going to slide it a little bit behind. Now, I'm going to be taking much bigger steps here, so you can see it in the video. But at the club and doing this more natural step, it actually shouldn't be this big, okay? It should be a lot smaller. Just whatever should be your shoulder length, that's how big your step should be, okay? So going back again, I'm going to step forward on 1. 2, I'm going to slide it back a little bit. And now 3, instead of stepping right where my 2 is, my right foot is, I'm going to step a little bit further back for 3, okay? So you see, my feet kind of always seem to be a little bit staggered. So how does the first part look like? It looks like 1, 2, 3, okay? Now, the rest of the basic, I'm going to take my right foot, step back on 5, and then my 6, instead of stepping 6 in place, I'm going to step forward on 6, and then I'll pick up my 7. Instead of having my 7 step in place next to my 6 in that neutral position, I'm going to step forward on 7. Again, you see how my feet are always staggered. So here's 7. And now I can always go back to my basic, or continue my basic by taking my left foot, stepping again on 1 in front of my right foot, okay? So how does it look like with, you know, kind of full counts? We go forward on 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Again, I'm taking big steps so you can see what I'm doing with my feet, but we'll probably zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. And then repeat, and rinse and repeat, whatever they say. So 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Okay? Now, if you want to do this on 2, I'll just do it right now. Basic step on 2 would be 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 1, right? To add a more natural feel to this, instead of stepping again on 1 in place, you can always just start going back. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 1. Same thing, different counts, same basic step. Okay, to do these steps a little bit more zoomed in, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and doing it on 2, we'll start here. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we finished working on our legs, and now we'll focus on the upper body. As you start dancing, I'm sure, as a beginner, you'd realize that, okay, we also did this basic step like this, but you probably weren't really paying attention to your arms and what your arms were doing. And most likely for beginners, as they dance, they'll end up just keeping their hands to their sides and very, very loosely, right? So, you know, there's no control on them. As you get closer to being an intermediate, you have to realize that the same attention that you provide your legs when you dance, you also have to provide to your arms, okay? So a quick tip that you should automatically do, you know, that will help you get started, is that when you do your basic step, instead of keeping them to your side, is make sure that they're at least to your kind of waist level, okay? So that a quick kind of idea is you know, keep them maybe 45 degrees or 90 degrees so that they don't feel like they're dragging behind you, but they're actually up here. Now, guys, you can kind of just keep some fists, you know, with your arm. Don't scare the ladies too much. But then, you know, girls, you can keep your hands a little bit more, well, I can't be like Julie, but a little bit more softer than the guys, okay? Now, once you feel comfortable keeping your hands up, you know, by really making sure that, you know, your elbows are kind of a little bit bent, you can start adding more movement to that upper body. Now, I'll face forward for you for this. What you want to realize is that now, you know, not only do you have your arms up, but you can add some movement to your arms. So they start moving, you know, kind of in a little bit of a unison with your feet, now that you have that kind of natural step going on. What you want to do is always move the opposite arm with the opposite leg. So if I'm stepping forward with my 1, I'm actually moving my right arm forward with it, okay? Now, well, we'll take it into pieces. The first piece is, so the opposite arm always moves with the opposite leg. So if I step forward with my 1, I have my right hand forward. If I step with my, with my left foot, I step my right hand forward. If I step with my right foot on 2, I use my left arm. Again, for my 3, it's my left foot, so I use my right arm, and so forth, right? So if you look at it really slowly, it looks like this. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Okay, very slowly again. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Okay, what you want to notice is that when I do that step and that styling, the movement doesn't come from my arm, okay? I mean, from my hand. It doesn't actually, you know, I'm not like trying to grab anything from this side. What I'm actually doing, I'm using my elbow, my arm kind of, you know, a little bit of this tricep to push my arm forward just a little bit to create that movement. So the motion doesn't start with a hand. It's more coming from my elbow, okay? So the way to think about it is I'm actually kind of drawing small little circles with my elbows as I move, very kind of small little circles. So as I move forward, I do 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. A good point to notice is that as I bring my hand forward, I make sure that my elbow does not, you know, or when I bring my arm forward, the elbow's not moving the arm so far across my body. I kind of want to use my sternum in the middle of my chest to kind of say, okay, this is as much as it should go forward, okay? So if you notice, if I come forward on 1, I kind of have this center area where then I bring the hand down, and I bring my left arm, kind of the center area, and I bring it back down, and so forth, okay? So just putting all those things together so you can see them again. I go forward to 1, 2, 3. You see how it kind of comes down? 5, 6, 7. And again, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Okay? That's adding a little bit more styling to your arms so that they don't feel completely flat. Hi, this is the Salsa.com podcast. My name is Anthony, and today I'm going to teach you a few ways to take your basic steps from beginner over to intermediate, and hopefully take your dancing to the next level. Okay, to get started, we'll work on our feet first. And if you've been dancing salsa for like 3-6 months or relatively recent, you'll realize that if you've gone to a lesson or seen some of our previous videos, the basic step they teach is something similar to this, where you go forward on your left, and you go back to this kind of middle ground, neutral position, and then you go back with your right, and then you go back to your middle position, right? So it looks like 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, right? Now, that step is great to get anybody started, but when you start taking your dancing to the next level, you realize that this step is very restrictive because it doesn't